a moment or a situation of heightened fragility when you are a foreigner. So I think the intent of this question is to cover my expat life and the times I was traveling, say, to exotic places where I didn't speak the language or the culture was quite the contrary of mine. Yeah, so I probably give an example to illustrate each. Fragility I experienced a lot when I lived in Poland for a year, especially, and that's a funny one, especially at the end. And why is that? Because you would think that it was tougher at the start, but it wasn't. And the reason is when I moved to Poland, actually one of the things that I was fascinated with was to be surrounded by people talking something I didn't have a clue. Okay, so I wanted to be able to disconnect and just feel that that discrepancy between myself and others. I don't know. I wanted to have that as a chapter in my life, and I had it. But at the beginning, there is some adrenaline about it because you want to get things done. You don't know exactly how, and there's a whole adventure about, say, ordering even like ordinary things like ordering a beer and make sure that you are getting the beer you like, because I'm picky with beers. I don't drink any shit. So yeah, so that was tough, but mostly at work. Because it was hard for me to follow what's happening, and I like it to be part of projects, and I was not always sure if that was happening, and I developed some paranoia, I have to say. And it took me time to understand that, but I developed some paranoia. So I, even after leaving Poland for maybe a couple of years, I was very afraid of being left out. I think there is a psychology term for that. I can't remember now, but I had always this feeling that I was not taken in consideration, or people were being mean. So it took me time to overcome that, and I don't blame that much in Polish people. I think I was not prepared for that. So that was that I felt very fragile because there was very little I could do, and sometimes it was frightening. Now, when I was traveling, the occasion where I felt that being a foreign wasn't particularly a privilege was when I crossed the border between Macau and China. It was the only time I was in China, and I loved it. I had a great time in China. I was in Guangzhou for 4 or 5 days. It was my first time ever in Asia, with the exception of Israel, although Israel is not exactly Asia, in my opinion. And it was tough because just to make it short, because of this again, this could be this could be a reason to be here talking for an hour. Just maybe I can do an episode on China or in Asia. Basically, I crossed the border. And it was around, I don't know, 6 p.m. maybe, and it was sunset. And for those who are not that familiar with that part of the road in China, the sunsets are they're very quick. Like they go like this, blink of an eye. And I had booked my bus to my hotel, but I couldn't find it. I just couldn't find it, and everything was in Chinese. There was no sight of Western tourists in that bus station. There were like loads of Chinese, with bags and talking to each other like mad. And I was afraid that I would just stay there at the border. And I want to make this short, but I had some challenges to cross the border because my passport was not in the best shape, and the Chinese are very careful with people, with letting people in their country. So I really felt that the language was a big thing there. Was a big thing, and eventually, just to finalize the story, eventually I managed to find my bus, and I go to the hotel. There was some trouble in check-in and all that, and in China, but yeah, it was part of the fun, but it wasn't. There was a mix of fun and fragility when I crossed the border and I was waiting to the bus.